Salut ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim and welcome to the Sounds German review of the new Hämatom album Bestie der Freiheit. This is a German metal band from Franconia, with Bestie der Freiheit being their 7th full-length album since their formation in 2014. And I knew these guys before from a few cover tracks they did, like Kiss from Materia and Schwarz zu Blau from Peter Fox, but I'll admit they were never really on my radar until this release, and let's just say I wasn't too fond of their cover songs. This album, however, completely free of cover songs, so let's get to it. Before we get into the meat of things here, I want to point out a little difference between the releases though. Apparently, at least according to how Amazon lists it, any physical version has only 13 tracks. Due to the practical reasons, as I said before, I buy my albums digital, and the digital version has 15. I'm not sure if Amazon just made a mistake in the listing here, or if those 2 tracks and the live recordings that come with the digital version are really digital exclusive. But if you decide you want to check the album out, it's something you should probably be aware of. As for the album itself, I really liked the opener Zeit für neue Hymnen. Right off the bat throws some fast riffs and drums at you and has this overall just really energetic feel to it. The atmosphere reminded me of the intro song of some action cartoon. It just keeps pushing from start to finish. Vocalist Nord also sometimes sounds eerily similar to the vocalist of Die Apokalyptischen Reiter. He has the same sort of scruffiness and aggro to his vocals, which comes off as aggressive, but at the same time not too brutal in the delivery. However, I really was not too keen on him doing just normal, clean singing, as he does, for example, in Bis zum letzten Atemzug. It's not that he can't sing, he hits the notes and everything, but these vocals just sound completely unremarkable to me. Just dime a dozen quote-unquote normal singing, lacking all and any personality he brings to the table with his more aggressive screaming and singing. What follows are tracks about various topics, and one thing that pops up again and again is self-determination. Be who you are, don't bow to others, don't become someone else because society tells you to do so, all that kind of stuff. The song Mein Leben, meine Regeln, for example, makes that the central focal point. Another track would be Zur Hölle mit eurem Himmel, which comes at you with this incredibly mellow guitar line that persists throughout the whole track except for the hook. The hook is not really hard or anything, but basically your typical metal fare again. And I have to admit, I really like that mellow guitar line from start to finish. I was also surprised to see no keyboard listed in the lineup, because Hämatom use electric elements in their tracks more than once. I mean, right at the beginning of the opener you have this short moment where the melody just stops and you have almost a drop the bass moment, so to say. And the song Lauter has some pretty dominant electronic elements in it too, down to an intro part that sounds almost EDM-ish. But overall, I really like the compositions on this album for the very most part. Hämatom certainly aren't inventing the wheel anew here, but what they deliver is what I would call very solid good mood metal. Guitars, drums, throw some effects and unique elements, like the heavy sound of ringing bells in here and there, and you get a pretty decent mix overall. They churned out some really catchy melodies here, and I found myself humming the melodies of a few tracks without even noticing at first, even when I wasn't actively listening to the album. Then there are the lyrics, however, and these are an incredibly mixed bag. When it's all about having a good time, like the track Lauter, which is basically all about just turning up the music and tear down the place, Hämatom are pretty damn good, I'd say. They sure as hell manage to deliver this sort of energetic party atmosphere also through the lyrics when all the pieces fall just right. Then you have the more somber songs on the other side, and this is where things get a bit shaky, with some lines reading like they might be ripped out straight off a diary of a 14-year-old. The most bearable of these songs to me was Lichterloh, with the problem being that the composition for this track is just awful. I don't mind calming down, taking the foot off the gas, whatever you want to call it, but this is just super sappy pop rock. The stuff housewives in their mid-40s share around on Facebook because it's so emotional, and this stuff sticks out from the rest of the album like a sore thumb. If that song were good, the overall consistency would probably be less of a problem, but the way it is, it's just, well, not good. And I think, honestly, if you can't do ballads properly, don't just force in some token ballad. It just, it won't do the album any favors. And finally, we have the tracks that are just, you know what, fuck if I know how to call them. I guess you could call them political? Sort of? Okay, first off, there's Wehleidige Monster, the Let's Take a Statement Against Nazis track of this album. I already had a bad feeling when they forced a line into the song Lange nicht perfekt about ripping out brown weeds. And they really forced it in with violence in there. It didn't fit the rhythm or the rhyme pattern, but god damn, they wanted to let you know. Here they dedicated a whole track to it, calling them sniveling monsters while also calling them ghosts of freedom? Wait, what? I mean, it's super obvious they wanted to show political flag here, but at the same time they say absolutely nothing of value about any issues. Not current one, not ones in the past. It feels like a token statement at best, just forced in for the sake of being there at worst. This really reminds me of the worst output I heard over the years from Vag. Then again, it's probably not too surprising they fail at conveying any actual meaning here, because not a single track even hits the 4-minute mark on this album. They simply don't take the time to make an important statement. And listen, I don't mind political music per se. I don't actively seek it out, but when an artist makes a political statement and delivers that message in an enticing way, that is something I can acknowledge. This song is the kind of track that will get a group of slobbering chimps cheering like crazy just because it has the message it has. Because, Nazis are shit is a really edgy and controversial message to have, especially in Germany. This song is followed directly by Todesmarsch, which laments about war with a children choir singing in the background, and I honestly wish I'd made this up. This track is the equivalent of someone whining about people killing each other. Just whining on, but again, not really saying anything. Just with the prior track, this song carries a statement so apparent and well known that literally everybody in the world knows it. War sucks. Yes, indeed. We know. We've known it for quite a few times by now. We had quite a few of those as of late, too. Meanwhile, slightly over 3 minutes of absolutely nothing of value is brought up here. It's just sappy and kitschy and whiny and full of pathos, and once again reminds me of the worst output from another band I had heard, but this time it's Saltatio Mortis. And boy, is that a comparison I never wanted to make. But Schrei nach Verschwörung has to take the cake on this one. In this track, they just list all sorts of tinfoil hat bullshit and conspiracy theories, while stating in the hook that every truth is also a lie and every truth is also propaganda. Meanwhile, they throw things like flat earthers and people who believe Elvis is still alive in one hat with lying media or the unknown identity of the Jack the Ripper. I'm actually really surprised they didn't throw Holocaust denial in there too, because they just went absolutely pants on head retarded with this one. Like, every truth is propaganda? No. No, Hämatom. No. This is not how this works. Especially the fact that they would drag something current and actually relevant to many people, like biased media, into this incredibly stupid track is just. Oh, it's just absolutely mind baffling. I'm sorry, I'm really at a loss for words here with this one. If these 3 of the 4 last tracks of the album are anything to go by, Hämatom should just be banned from doing anything even slightly political in their music ever again. These tracks, at least from their content-wise, were just utterly dreadful. And it's not like you don't have phrase mongering and dishing out cheap platitudes prior to this on the album. You know, Hämatom aren't exactly great philosophers when it comes to their lyrics, but these tracks, these last 3 tracks, are just remarkably stupid. And given that the track Murder earlier on this album criticized politicians and the way they handled things, you know, that track was at least decent. And in retrospect, I was really shocked at how bad these later songs were. And of course, you could nitpick any song to death if you so desire. A song is a sort of limited medium to cover a complex topic. But if a song can't even withstand thinking about it on the most basic level, you just failed. These tracks are failures, and the album would be better off without them entirely. So, if you don't understand German and don't care enough to push those lyrics through some sort of translator, bless your soul, because you are better off that way, and you might be able to get some enjoyment out of these songs at least. So, in conclusion, boy, is this album a mixed bag. Catchy compositions, a full and rich sounding album on the one hand, and some of the worst lyrics I have heard in quite some time on the other. You know, listen, if all you want is some metal to listen to, this album, by and large, is a pretty good pick, especially if you don't understand German, ironically. But at the same time, this has some really dreadful material on the disc. However, leave out the tracks 7, 11, 12, 13 and 14 and you get a pretty decent, enjoyable album that won't overstay its welcome in my opinion. But these tracks I just named, just stay away from them. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you didn't like it, we have a button for that too. And if you have listened to this album, feel free to tell me in the comments what you thought about it. And if you want at least one weekly music review from an artist or band you probably never heard about before, just subscribe to the channel. You can also follow Sounds German on Facebook or Twitter. I do usually post daily new music videos on there from all kinds of artists. I hope to see you again next time. Have a nice day. Salida.